let's get into our week 2 in review, VAR. Unfortunately, I thought we were going to get out of a week where we wouldn't have any major VAR decisions compared to our first week, Paul, but not so fast. But let's not start with what I think is the showstopper. Let's start with the low-hanging fruit. I want to start with the 2 calls that I think were pretty subjective, but I'd like to hear your opinion on. One being, obviously, Vardy's goal, or Feist's goal, being called onside and an acceptable goal, though Vardy clearly is standing in an offside position. I like the call by VAR because they look at it with real, like a real brain, and they're like, side official called it. He doesn't really have a good view. Look at the monitor. The keeper can see 2.5 feet over the defender or over the offensive player. Nothing stopped him. No stopping this. Goal. What say you?
Yeah, I like it too. It's like a return to common sense, right? Like, so if the player's not there, does the goal likely happen? The answer is yes, right? Like the ball comes in, it's to the side, to the right. Vardy's kind of to the left. Like, there's no direct blocking the line of sight for the keeper. Like, yeah, I think we just made it simple, which is what this thing needs to do. It just needs to revert back to common sense sometimes. And like, there's no way he was blocking the line of sight there. So I loved it.
So this next call, I don't think there's any question whether or not it was the right call. And we're just going to talk about it just in case a United person is or United supporter is watching or listening, for the pure schadenfreude of laughing at them again. But Garnacho's goal that Xerxes taps the ball in from an offside position. I've actually seen players, like former players, talking about how, like, this is what's wrong with rules in the game. Like, it shouldn't be chalked off. The ball is going in the net. Like, I've seen actual, like, multiple, and some were even like, I think there were like 2 former Liverpool players saying, I would have been okay with them allowing that goal to happen. By letter of the law, we all know it's offside. Is there any form of we allow subjectivity at some levels in this sport to come into play? To me, I don't see any way you could rewrite the rules or alter the rules in any way that something like this, which truly is a happened circumstance type of a situation, to me, this always would come back to what happens if then the guy taps it in from an offside position and you're like, oh, but the ball was going in anyways, right? Like, is there anything that could be done here in this situation? Because by all accounts, I mean, it was a good goal by all accounts, other than the idiot ran into the ball before it went in.
So for me, it's, I don't know how you go back and say, like, an account for this, right? Like, if the player's offside and it touches him and it goes in, he's offside. It's not, the goal doesn't count. Like, it's unfortunate, right? Like, I think he makes the right run. I think he makes the right choice. Just can't get out of the way. But how is that different than, like, a bizarre own goal? Do you know what I mean? Like, how is that different? Like, and the funny thing is, I just watched this documentary on ESPN about, I remember quite clearly, Armando Gallaraga's perfect game, and Jim Joyce called the last out of the game. He called the player safe, right, when he was clearly out. It was like the biggest blown call in, like, Major League history in the modern century, right? And the ump and everybody basically petitioned the league to repeal the decision and give Galarraga the perfect game, when there's clear, indisputable evidence that was a blown call, and Major League Baseball still to this day has not done it. So, like, I guess my point is like, sometimes these rules are set in play, and, like, we don't want to open Pandora's box by making some sort of exclusionary rule on certain circumstances, because now you got to peel that onion back and look at everything, and you make it more complicated going forward versus just saying, like, man, great run, unfortunate spot. Like, that stinks. Like, that is a run against play that's really tough to swallow if you're a United supporter. But I just think that, like, if we try to go back and peel back some of these rules and, like, make these sort of exclusionary clauses and things, we're just opening up a can of worms.
Yeah, I don't disagree there. I think I would agree with you. I don't think you can change any rules. I think it was unfortunate what happened in the moment. I do feel, I mean, other than he's a United player, I do feel for Xerxes there. I don't think he's doing anything wrong except for trying to run in on the ball. He's making a run but he's offside and it's just a stupid area to be in. At one hand, I do think you have to you have to know where you are on the pitch and you have to understand their surroundings. And I think a really seasoned veteran probably knows enough not to run onto that ball out of the chance that he could be offsides, especially when the keeper's already completely blown away. So let's go to the Manchester City Ipswich Town match. Two big VAR calls here. Didn't realize this till I was doing a little legwork on the match. Michael Salisbury was the original match official for this match, assigned by the PGMOL. The fourth official was Sam Allison, who happened to be forced to take over as match official before the match started. Because I had not seen this man referee many matches in the Premier League. Can all maybe understand what might have tipped me off that it was a different match official that I hadn't seen in a while because it was the Premier League. But I feel like he was put in a really bad spot because he was supposed to be the fourth official. He is the match official. It is a newly promoted side who likes to play out against the most attacking side in the whole league playing at home. Early in the match, there is an incident where, in my opinion, he should have seen it was a penalty and called the penalty, in which he didn't call the penalty, which was David Coote, who we will get to in a bit in this discussion. But David Coote's on VAR. David Coote recommends to Sam Allison, who I will guarantee is not a mate of his or anyone he's trying to protect, should go to the screen and check out what just happened against Savino or Savio, however you want to pronounce it. So I will say Savio because that's easier. Leaf Davis tackles him in the box. Pretty clear cut to me, Paul. When you saw that in real time, did you think it was a penalty? Did you expect VAR to award a penalty?
So, okay, I'll say I didn't think it was as clear cut as everybody else did. I really didn't. And I think if it's I really think if it's any other team, like maybe an Arsenal, Liverpool, City, maybe get this right. But I think if it's most of the teams outside of this big four right now, I don't know that gets called to the monitor and he gets put in that spot. And the other thing is I watch every replay on that monitor. If you go back and watch it, there is not a single angle where the player's foot is not behind the ball. Like you don't actually see a point of contact in it at all in any of the replays because the ball is in the way. We're getting an angle like sort of off to the side, like off to in front of the player, slightly off to the right at an angle where the ball is behind both feet. And like, I mean, you can assume there's contact there, but I would have loved to have seen it. And I think he got put in a really bad spot. I don't think we got good angles on it. I didn't think it was as clear cut as most people did.
So you fast forward to the next penalty incident down the other end of the field. Not only is it not awarded, VAR takes a look at it, doesn't think it's even worth looking at. Funny part is this time it's Savino on Leaf Davis as he's taking him down in the box. And to me, that one looked even more of a penalty. And it's not given. Is this big club, small club, where we're at in this league? Is this just the inconsistency of the rules being adjudicated? Where you stand on this?
I mean, I think it's probably inconsistency, but I think when the inconsistencies consistently favor a couple teams in this league, that's where it starts to annoy me.
Well, speaking of some of the teams that may find inconsistencies, one team that will always feel egregious and has made it very clear is Bournemouth. Not to the level of Wolves, but Bournemouth does feel like it hits them hard. And I saw the manager after the match talking about just how disturbed he was by this. I think he actually told the story about taking a woman out for a date and having her like leave after dessert like before, like literally like left while he was having the date with her. Like he went to the bathroom and she left. And he actually said, I wasn't as disappointed as I was with today's decision. It was one of the great, like those post-match quotes where you're like, something got lost in translation, but I'm picking up everything you're putting down, sir. So those of you who haven't seen it, Bournemouth had a 92nd minute winner chalked off for what was deemed a factual handball, which by rule means it's not a decision of question. It is not anything that could be decided by the referee. It wasn't about where it was. It was a guaranteed handball. Paul, you have seen this replay. We have all seen this replay. Is there any way that Tim Robinson, the VAR, had a reason to determine that was 100% unequivocally a handball, and therefore David Coote's call on the field should not stand?
The only thing that I can think is he thought the player was wearing a tank top, because I thought the rule was always the shirt sleeve, right? It's clearly above the shirt sleeve onto the shoulder. I don't even get it. And I think the Bournemouth manager wore his own shoulder out trying to like demonstrate. But I feel for Bournemouth there, because it's such a bad call. In the explanation of of why the call is even worse than the actual call itself. So, I mean, and I think that's where VAR really does the double whammy, is when they get it wrong and then the explanation is also wrong. Like, that's when it gets really, really, like, frustrating for everybody involved.
Yeah, I haven't seen anyone defend it yet. I haven't seen anyone try to make amends for why it was a good call. I mean, all I've seen is just blatant misuse of VAR. So, if we fast forward about 3 minutes in this match, there is a moment where Bournemouth tries to basically counter. Newcastle is putting on a little bit of pressure. I think they have a corner or something. The ball goes into the keeper, and Neto is clearly about to try to release them on a counterattack. At which point, Joe Linton literally reaches around by the neck and, like, straight up, like, WWE fans will understand, like JBL clothesline from hell this guy to the ground. And he grabs a goalkeeper by the throat, and you can see it, by the face, and throws him to the ground. The ref sees it, gives a yellow card. Is there any way in this game today where Schär is sent off last week for a pseudo pantomime headbutt that Joe Linton doesn't march immediately for grabbing another player by the throat? And the fact that VAR didn't even, like, is this just...
It's insane.
It gave a yellow?
No,
what happened?
It's absolutely insane. Like, I don't know how especially when when Schär goes off the straight red for violent conduct, and that's what we deem that, but then we deem this like clothesline of a player at full speed, like a yellow without any sort of VAR, like even having a look at it is madness to me. It's absolutely crazy. I think those two calls in culmination are so bad. And the fact that David Coote consistently is in the middle of this absolute bullshit is so frustrating to me. Like, how this man, and I don't want to take anybody's livelihood away from them or anything, but like there's nothing from a performance standpoint that indicates that this should be that guy's level at all. Like, and if you consistently have him in the middle, just making these errors and being the center of it, like, I just don't understand what we're doing.
Yeah, I would argue, as bad as the handball decision is, I think the non-giving of a red card is actually worse, is a worse form of VAR, because at least in the instance of the handball, taking it off for the, factual handball, that person made a mistake in the application of a rule.
Mm-hmm.
I can live with that. You can't miss a hand around a throat that takes a player running at full speed. If any player stuck their arm out and pulled another player to the ground anywhere else on the pitch, and albeit for me to actually like sit here and defend a keeper getting extra credit because I'm usually the ones that are like, we're too soft on keepers. We give them that can't happen. A goalie is running out to release the ball. A outfield player grabs him by the throat and throws him to the box on their own. And he was livid at the end of the match. Like the keeper was going crazy at the end of that match, Neto, because he knew like the player should have been sent off. And if you're not protecting the player in that spot, then I don't know exactly what you are doing. I don't think it changed the outcome of the match, but I think the next three teams that play Newcastle would prefer their best or second best, box to box midfielder not be in the lineup. And this is where this league doesn't realize its decisions impact, because for all we know, Newcastle will finish in the top four on a goal and an assist by Joe Linton in the next two matches that play some big role by the end of the season. So